is truth in journalism, where brave men and women gave voice to the voiceless. But then the corporations bought the journalist, poisoning the news that we are fed. With those tainted sources, all we ever ate was a steady diet of status quo. This hijacked narrative hid the truth of mass suffering, injustice, and corruption throughout our land. Status quo, status quo, status quo, status quo. To expose this shift to oligarchy came a band of honest journalists. They left the studio and hit the streets to give the microphone back to the people. From sea to sea, the people were empowered to share their truth. Their voices no longer stifled, reclaimed their power. Join the media revolution now.
Hey there, Jordan Sheridan, live. Hold on. Ooh, sorry. Live from New York City, live stream part 2 for the day. Sorry I'm a little bit late. I have been working like a dog the last hour or so, going through an individual's Twitter, going all the way back to the beginning of 2017 so that you don't have to. So was a little busy doing that. Obviously, I was live a little bit earlier on the breaking news that Bernie Sanders had. As the hours go by, it's becoming more and more evident, kind of a minor procedure. When it comes to the heart, you never really want to say minor, but his procedure to put stents in for an artery, a blocked artery, is very common. So he is doing well, and I can show you his tweet from, looks like about a half hour ago. Thanks for all the well wishes. I'm feeling good. I'm fortunate to have good health care and great doctors and nurses helping me to recover. None of us know when a medical emergency might affect us, and no one should fear going bankrupt if it occurs. Medicare for all. That looks like about an hour or two ago. Like I say earlier, I think Bernie could use this as an opportunity for messaging. I'd like to see what his hospital bill was. Obviously, it's going to be relatively cheap because he's a senator and has great health care, but maybe they could break it down what it would have been without health care. And also, what is his cost even with his Senate health care plan? Because there's going to be costs. You're talking maybe several days in the hospital, observation, that kind of thing. So I think Bernie Sanders could use this to his advantage, but obviously his health comes before politics. We don't know what's going to happen. I spoke with somebody on his campaign that said he was basically kicking and screaming to leave the hospital and get back on the campaign trail tomorrow. If that tells you anything, Bernie Sanders is a fighter and will not let this keep him down. I do expect the media to start with the negative stuff that he needs to drop out and focus on his health and he's too old. So far, the media hasn't done that. We will see what happens tomorrow. So we'll see what happens. Remember, folks, you have work to do. We already got close to 300 people watching. I want every single one of you right this second. I want you to smash the like button. Smash it into smithereens. Right there. That's the thumbs up button right under the video. The more people that press the thumbs up button, the more people that will see the live stream. YouTube has been really throttling, suppressing this channel. Our subscriber growth is really slowing down because a lot of people do not see the live streams when we're live. They don't see our videos when we post videos. So you could help. It's as simple as pressing that thumbs up button. If you're watching on your phone and are in the live chat, just press the X on the live chat for a second and then like it, and then you can go back in. Consider becoming a Status Quo member. We're now at 718 members. Goal for the end of this year is 1,000. We're going back in the field this weekend. I'm not going to tell you what we're doing, but it's bonkers. I think you're gonna like it. It's kind of a top secret surprise, but we're sending Marcus out somewhere, and it's gonna be great. And I'm currently in the background reaching out to folks associated with the Keystone XL pipeline so we could hit the road and cover that in Nebraska, South Dakota, possibly Montana in the next weeks. We're just waiting on a piece of equipment to arrive by the end of the week, and then we're going to start booking some flights and all that stuff. But your membership is how we grow. It's as cheap as $5 to $10 a month, unless you want to leave it to CNN to cover environmental calamity, police brutality, state and local corruption, water contamination, and all the rest. Thank you. Also, we're almost at 10,000 followers on Twitter, so follow us at Status Coup. Also, we are getting so much closer every day, getting so much closer to the end of the line in this GoFundMe. We're now less than 8,000. I think that's 8,000, if my math is correct, $8,885 away, but closer, we are $885 away from 77,000. So to those of you who have a couple bucks, drop it in the GoFundMe. Jen is at an appointment, so whoever, Joseph or Michael, whomever, drop those links in when you can. Thank you. Thank you, Chris, 20 bucks in the super chat. October 23rd, imagine a day without water. Hey, Chris, do me a favor and send that to info@statuscoup.com. Too many super chats, too many comments. I don't want to miss it. info@statuscoup.com. Send it over to us. So, I want to start, even though it's not in the headline, I want to start with what I think is outrageous. And I kind of lied. I just did an audible. So, Joseph, if you want to line up, if you're hearing me. Joseph? Oh, there's a delay. I want to start with this. So I'm going to bring in Joseph here to cover this breaking news story, and then we're going to get to Warren. But as I talked about, Amber Guyger, the Dallas police officer that shot and killed Botham John, who was a 26-year-old black man, originally from the Caribbean. Now he moved to America, and Amber Guyger a year ago went into his apartment, intruded in, shot him dead, killed him. She was found guilty yesterday. So I covered it, and it was good news that she was found guilty, because obviously white cops in America, not often found guilty. Today, not the best of news, if you ask me. It just came out before I went live, and remember to press that like button. It just came out before I went live. A Dallas County jury sentenced Amber Guyger to 10 years in prison after convicting her of murdering her upstairs neighbor, Botham John, in his apartment last year. Guyger has been facing 5 to 99 years. Had been facing 5 to 99 years of life in prison. And for those that weren't watching yesterday, as a reminder, we were the only national media down there last year covering, what do you call this other than an execution? Somebody said, Jordan, don't snap at people like that. I was snapping because he had his headphones on.
I had the headphones. These things, you can't hear anything.
I'm not. So, he can't hear me. I'm not snapping like, hey, to the waiter. He couldn't hear me. So, I don't want to. What's the word? Tokenize you.
Yeah.
But I'd rather hear from a black man.
Yeah.
Before I comment.
Absolutely.
What are your thoughts on this?
So
Oh, by the way, for those of you that don't know, I've explained it 25 times, but here we go.
Yeah.
Joseph is our new camera person.
Yes.
If you haven't seen, so he started last week. He's working on some things. We're gonna show you some new stuff today that he's already done. So Joseph will be joining us and me on the road as soon as we book the flight. So,
absolutely.
What are your thoughts on this?
So definitely on this particular situation, one of the things that that jumps out me, and I just want to say as a person, she's guilty. She says she was threatened. She was not threatened. she was drunk and went to the wrong apartment and saw a stranger sitting on a couch. Last time I had somebody like be in that realm, or like where it was a stranger I didn't know, I said, "What are you doing?" I understand she's a lady. I understand maybe there's a sense of, oh God, there's a guy there. But then there's a history of racism, and there's a history from text messages to other, the sort of locker room talk that basically where she's just calling people of color a lot of disparaging names. I have been in a situation as a person of color, as a man of color, and just as a background, I give the audience a little bit of background. My mother's from Puerto Rico, but my father and grandfather from Trinidad. So this is where, and I have West African roots all the way going back to Africa. I identify as a person of color, and what you get a lot of times is because I am 6'4", I'm about 240, shh, don't tell anybody, you get a lot of situations where people are intimidated by you because of the color of your skin or the size that you are. And I'm like, look, I was just trying to eat some vegetables and eat meat. Like, that was how I got as big as I am, I think. And for her to say that
you look like Hercules.
Thank you.
Yeah.
His bouncer when we go on the road. What I say is that I think it was very disgusting that this person who clearly murdered another human being showed no remorse, because not only did she shoot the person, but 2 days later text another person to basically say, oh, this isn't a big deal, let's have sex.
Actually, the same night.
Oh, the same night, excuse me. And, one of the things I will say is that when you're trying to have sex the same night, that means you don't care. You don't care about the life you just took. And he was sitting there chilling. He was watching something on TV, minding his business in his apartment, and he got shot for no reason. And her excuse was, I was threatened. Well, you're a police officer. You're not supposed to be threatened that easily, and you're supposed to handle it a lot better than she did. And I think that there is such a racial implication here that is just, there's a sense of white privilege here, in the sense that she only got the time that she got. She should have gotten more. It should have been a life sentence because of the lack of remorse, because of the fact that she was trespassing on his property, and because of the fact that she was basically out of her mind. Like, she was basically not really caring. And I personally think that this is exactly what is wrong in the general society. This is exactly what is wrong. That it's okay if somebody of color gets killed, but if the situation was reversed and a black guy or a Hispanic guy was killing a white woman,
Death penalty, without question. They wouldn't. The trial would have lasted about a week, and the verdict would have been done in 20 minutes. Like, it would have been hands down. I just kind of coin a phrase, kind of reminds me of Felicity Huffman, who got 14 days and a $50,000 fine. Am I getting those numbers right? And then there's another woman who got sentenced to 5 years because she put an address on her son's school application just so he could go to a better school. 5 years to 14 days. Wow. So this is the type of injustice. This is the justice inequality that just always happens. And I want us to get past this, because, like, when I look at people, I don't look at people as skin color. I look at people as, hey, you're a good person. You're a person that I want to talk to. You're a good person I want to work with. You're a person I don't go that route. And like, I was raised in a mixed culture and a multicultural house. So when I see this, it's just like, we're 50 years removed from civil rights movement, like the major part of the movement. Have we moved forward at all? That's the question, because you're seeing this happen. And the one thing I could say, I guess maybe 50 years ago, she wouldn't even have been arrested. It would have been like, it's not even a big deal. So I just think it's horrible. It's atrocious. I would love to hear what people in the chat are saying, because I would like to think that the majority would feel that same way, that the facts are clear. And just to reiterate, just in case people don't know, facts are clear. She came home drunk. She went drunk. I just want to correct you that the toxicology didn't show that, but there was thought that she was drinking, but we don't know if she was actually drunk.
But here's the point. You came home, went to the wrong floor, so you were clearly not paying attention at the very least. And instead of knocking and saying, excuse me, what are you doing in my apartment? And giving the person a chance to say, hey, this is my apartment. You're on the 6th floor or whatever floor she went to. She just pulled out her gun and shot him. And then went about her evening and text somebody later and said, we're going to have sex. I want everybody in the audience to just ask themselves a question. If somebody they loved had that happen to them, what would you want? What would you think? What would you feel?
A few things. Number one, I look at age, too.
Yeah.
She's 31. She's going to get out of jail at 41.
And still live her life.
Where you still have, the prime of your life. If you're lucky, health-wise, she could still, I'm not a gynecologist, but women are having babies later and later. Women are having babies later and later. So this is not, obviously 10 years of somebody's life is a lot, but she's still getting out of jail at 41 years old with plenty of life ahead. Yeah. Secondly, I don't want to politicize this and make it about the campaign, but the facts are the facts. There are black men sitting in prison because of Joe Biden and Bill Clinton for life, for cocaine or for drugs, when this white police officer got a slap on the wrist. And by the way, 10 years, the details did not say. We don't know if she could get off before 10 years for good behavior, which happens all the time. In 5 years from now, in 8 years from now, when nobody's paying attention, and both of them John's name, if we're keeping it real, is no longer as relevant as it is now, is there going to be a huge kick and a scream if she gets out for good behavior in 7.5, 8 years?
And which is going to happen, because that's generally the justice system. You go to jail for 10 years, good behavior, you're out in 6 or 7 years. 6 or 7 years, is that equal to a person's life? Because last time I checked, most people who commit cold-blooded murder, because that's what it was. It wasn't like he tried to attack her or anything, or self-defense, or it was cold-blooded murder. Last time I checked, people generally get 25 to life for that. And when there is a record of no remorse, there are judges that will say, you showed remorse, I'll be lenient. She showed no remorse until she was caught.
She did cry on the stand, blah, blah, blah.
On the stand? That doesn't count.
Right. No,
that doesn't count.
I agree. I just want to say, in fairness, she did.
Yes.
She cried and said she lives with it every day, yada, yada, yada.
Well, she should live with it every day for the next 25 years.
But to me, does her being found guilty give white police officers some hesitation not to be lunatic, frankly, police terrorists? Yeah. But 10 years and getting off on good behavior earlier, which is most likely, it shows you the lack of value on black lives. Because, frankly, if a fucking black guy from the Caribbean intruded on a white woman's home, shot her dead, he'd be facing the death penalty, particularly in Texas, okay? So this is, even though there's like a quarter, halfway justice that she was found guilty, you are not going to stop seeing these things happen if the value of black lives is not elevated to equal or at least close to equal.
It has to be.
And this is not that. To me, for what she did, if you even wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt, okay? You want to give her the benefit of the doubt that she truly, whatever, she was tired, she worked all day, and she just really got confused or whatever. Even if she went into that apartment, she said he was coming at me. There was no proof that happened. So there is a racial thing going on
and
here.
Here's the thing. Even if he was coming at you, he was probably coming at you to ask her, what are you doing in my apartment?
Right.
Like, I know for a fact, I had somebody actually a few years back walk into an old apartment of mine and actually walk in, and I was like, excuse me, hey, how you doing? What can I help you? And I'm sure, I'm sorry, somebody coming to my house, that's my house. I have the right to say, what are you doing coming into my house?
Because she said on the stand that she told him to stand back. If somebody walked in here and told me to stand back,
I'd
be like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah, exactly. Most people would be like, who the fuck are you?
To me, this is disgraceful.
Yeah.
And We went down there in the early days of Status Quo. We spoke with Botham's minister, his friends, activists on the ground who had been arrested protesting for Botham Jean. So this is something we've covered. And it's just amazing. It's amazing. When you have a range of 5 years to 99 years, you would think maybe at the minimum you'd get 20 years here. 25 years. But again, white privilege. And what surprises me here, to tell you the truth, I don't know what the jury vote on this was. We don't know the internal vote. There's a lot of black people on that jury. So I'd be interested to know what was the split here between the white jurors and the black jurors, because I would have a very hard time believing that those black jurors, understandably so, would be okay with 10 years.
No, and they wouldn't be okay. And one of the things I'm seeing in the chat is that I want to be clear, and I am a personal belief that all lives matter. A life is a precious thing, and for any life to be taken away, especially young, I have 2 kids myself, and I would never know what to do if anything happened to my kids. But all lives matter. But I think what some people may be missing is that there is an inherent pattern for the last 20 to 80 years, maybe longer, and actually very much longer.
Probably 300
years, but like we're talking about like where civil rights started and maybe progression started happening, where you think, the last 20 years you think it's better out there. I have been personally stopped because I was going 31 miles an hour in a 25-mile-an-hour zone. And because I've always respected police officers, I roll down my windows. If I'm playing music, I put the music down. I say, "Hey, how can I help you, officer? What's going on?" Because I'm not trying to give them an excuse to get aggressive with me. But I've gotten in that moment where I said, "How are you doing? How's the evening going?" I've literally gotten, "Where are you coming from? What are you doing? And why are you going so fast?" And the tone was not like, "Hey man, how's it going? Where you coming from?" It was very serious, and I answered the questions, and because I gave him nothing, that doesn't happen. That doesn't always happen. A lot of times situations escalate, and we get defensive, and they take that as aggression. I get, and I want to say this to play devil's advocate, I get that being a police officer is one of the hardest jobs in the world. I get that. But you got to treat people fairly. You got to respect people. And what I say is that I, a million times over, feel like that has not been the case. A million times. And it's happened over and over and over. And it's a pattern that is set, a precedence has set. And all lives matter, and everybody wants to be safe. But when the rule should be equal. And I'm going to say this because I believe this. If it was a black man killing a white woman, 25 to life. If it was a white woman killing a black man, 25 to life. It should be equal, and it's not. That's the bottom line. It's not. That's a fact.
The last thing I'll say on this, and I know you don't mean it this way, but I cringe when I hear all lives matter, because there's not a need to say white lives matter. There's just not a need.
I let him say that.
White lives are not like devalued in this country, or frankly in most places. So this all lives matter is just frankly dog whistling. Some people who say it like don't consciously mean to dog whistle, but most people who say it are dog whistling because there's no need to like stress the fact that like white lives are important too. The reason you say black lives matter is because they are devalued in this country and have been for a long time. So the bottom line is, to me, this is a major injustice. I would love, and I'll follow up, I would love to know what this jury was thinking. Hopefully, some of the black jurors will speak to the media. I will try to identify who those jurors were, because I bet my last bottom dollar that this was divided on racial grounds in that jury on what the sentencing should be, with white jurors kind of, no other way to say it, kind of falling for her, crying on the stand, and I live with this every day, and, giving more of a benefit of the doubt. And that just shows instinctually the race, the not only white privilege, but the racial blindness of most white people, even progressives sometimes. So I'm glad we went down there to cover it. I'm glad she was found guilty. I'm not happy at the penalty here, which to me is a slap on the wrist.
Very
Both of them, John, ain't getting 10 years of anything. He's dead.
The only thing I will say is that police officers, when they go to jail, generally are not treated well. That's the only thing that I will say, that those 7 years, because it's going to be 7 years, maybe 6 years even, those 6 years might be hell for her, rightfully so. So that's the only solace, if that even matters. But, you know, like, it really, reading that and seeing it, and it's just a blatant racism. I've literally lost friends who became police officers, and when we were friends in high school and the beginning of college, they were great people, became cops, and just turned into raging dickheads, and unfortunately. So, and I literally have said to quite a few of them, I can't mess with you anymore, we can't hang out anymore, you're making comments that I don't agree with. So that's the way it is. But
yeah.
That's
and for those of you asking, yes, it actually was the jury who decided this sentence, not the judge, which I've never heard of, but this is what multiple articles I've read are saying, that it was the jury who made the decision. A Dallas County jury sentenced Amber Guyger, and why I believe it's accurate is I read earlier that the judge, which I also thought was crazy, the judge had granted the defense lawyer for Amber Guyger's, granted that it could go as low as 5 years because of a crime of passion statute or something like that. So it was the jury who decided the sentencing. I've never heard of that, but I guess that's a possibility. Maybe it depends on the state, but it was the jury, so that's why somebody said you're speculating. Yes, I am speculating, but I do know that there was several black people on the jury and several white people. So just based on my common sense and knowing human nature, I would think that some of the black people on that jury felt differently than some of the white people. I could be wrong, but that's an educated guess because the jury did decide the sentence. So,
and I want to say really quick, and I appreciate what I'm seeing in the chat. It is support. People have gone through this. There are real stories. Like, I don't have to make this stuff up. It happens, and it happens on a regular basis. And I got one guy who basically said that I'm being a little easy on the cops. You know what? I'm easy on the cops because I've met some police officers.
He's also easy on the establishment, which we're trying to knock out of him.
Yeah, he's trying to beat it out of me. That was the beginning when he was pointing and stuff. That was it. No, kidding. What I say is that there have been some police officers that have actually been somewhat respectful, like where they will. I had a cop who pulled me over and basically said, "I just wanted to let you know your brake light was out." And I said, "Oh, I didn't know. It must have just happened." He said, "Get it fixed. I'm not giving you a ticket. I just want to let you know." I said, "Oh, I appreciate that tremendously." That is rare, but it's happened. So, like, what I say is you give people the benefit of the doubt until they cross the line. And really want to say get well to Bernie Sanders because I never wish any. I've had chest discomfort, and I'm 38. So, I know that must feel much worse at that age, so.
All right, I'm kicking you out.
Hey, I'm kicking out. I'm going back to here. I'll be in the chat. You guys can ask questions, and I'll answer it.
Cool. Whew. So, all right. From that story, which is very upsetting. Oh, wait, I just want to say props. We just got some more GoFundMe donations. Thank you, Anonymous, $5. Thank you, Robert, $10. $76,130. Keep it coming if you can. Again, we're getting back in the field, definitely this weekend, and Joseph and I are eyeing. We're just waiting for equipment, and I'm talking to some folks in Montana, Nebraska, and South Dakota about hitting the road to cover the Keystone XL pipeline, which I think has the potential to become another Standing Rock type of situation, which is serious business. The construction has not happened, and that's why I want to get out on the ground early before construction happens to get awareness of the threat and get these voices, native voices, environmental activists, landowners who are getting their property seized via eminent domain. So, of course, for almost 600 people watching, this is what Status Quo is about, going in the field. And as we grow our membership, we're able to go in the field more and hopefully hire more reporters. So our goal is very bold. We want to hit 1,000 members by the end of this year. We're now at 718, so consider signing up. It's as cheap as a cup of Joe a month. There's other options too. $5, $10, $179 annually. You pick. We want to make it as affordable as possible. I know there's some other outlets out there telling you, subscribe, become a member, this and that. But what are you going to get from those folks? 24/7 Trump, impeachment hysteria, Russia, Ukraine, Stormy Daniels, whatever. We're doing something radical, real, aggressive, in-the-field journalism. Unless you want to leave it to CNN to do that. So, membership and, of course, GoFundMe. We're pushing both right now, so keep it coming. Now, we've covered Bernie Sanders and wish him well. I don't think it's a major deal. I think the media is going to try and make it a major deal. But we'll see what happens. I would expect him to be back on the campaign trail by next week. Or this weekend, if I know Bernie, but if I know Bernie well. 550 people watching, only 416 of you have pressed that like button. It's the thumbs up button right under the video. The more people that press that thumbs up button, the larger the audience will get. For whatever reason, YouTube, that's how it works. More likes, more people see the live stream show up in their feed. So if everyone can press that thumbs up button, I'd appreciate it. So, Elizabeth Warren, surging in the polls. The best candidate money can't buy, I'm told. Interesting. Well, Elizabeth Warren has been doing a lot of things that, dare I say, don't come off the most progressive. Including hiring this fella to run her Michigan campaign. Goes by the name of Mike McCollum. He ran, I think, something in the Michigan Democratic Party. Has worked for Barack Obama's campaign and worked for Hillary Clinton's campaign in 2016. He also has tweeted some things that kind of make it look a little anti-Bernie. So, do I want to... hold on. Somebody asked Jordan, have you or Joseph ever thought about stealing new equipment or using a stolen credit card? No, we haven't, but nice idea. So I don't want to condemn Elizabeth Warren for hiring somebody from Hillary Clinton's campaign to run Michigan, which is a state that the Democratic candidate must win back. But it kind of continues to show Elizabeth Warren's willingness to basically bend over backwards for the establishment. It shows a sign, an olive branch, so to speak, of Elizabeth Warren making, kind of like an olive branch to the establishment, which Bernie Sanders would never do. I'm a team player. I'll even bring on old hands of Hillary to my campaign. This isn't somebody to be a volunteer or do social media. It's to run the state of Michigan for her campaign, a pivotal state. So, I just took a little time to go through his past tweets. Nothing, crazy scandalous, but it definitely shows he's not on Bernie's team. That's for sure. This tweet, Tom Watson, if you're on Twitter, kind of a Hillbot, sends out a lot of misinformation, hates Bernie with a fire-breathing passion. Tom Watson, I guess, in 2017, tweeted out, Bernie should sell his lake house and move to South Carolina this summer. I tried to see what that tweet was in response, what he was linking to, but that person blocked me, which I take with pride. So Elizabeth Warren's new Michigan campaign manager felt the need to point out that Bernie lost to Hillary by 48 points. Again, he worked on Hillary's campaign in South Carolina in 2016. Amber Tamblyn, one of these Hollywood celebs who don't like Bernie and are very big on identity politics, had tweeted out, no, the Democratic Party belongs to the unprecedented number of women who ran this year and are winning, reshaping not just its values, but its representation. Fuck this erasure of the hard work women have put in to be seen and heard in politics in response to an article, the Democratic Party now belongs to Bernie. And Elizabeth Warren's new state director, did not like that and felt the need to retweet Amber Tamblyn. Let's move on. Oh, hold on. Here we have, he tweeted out, so proud to have been on this team with him as well as some other people and the talented 11 others who led us to a 48-point victory for Hillary Clinton. He pointed out, which I find very, very interesting, Hillary was just in an uphill battle in South Carolina. She only had 2 officers and 14 staffers versus Bernie's 240 staffers and 10 offices. Does this guy want us to believe that Hillary Clinton was an underdog to Bernie Sanders in South Carolina? Because I could tell you, in South Carolina, because I was there before the primary in 2016. You want to know why he had so many staffers? Because nobody in South Carolina knew who the hell Bernard Sanders was. So this guy seems to, there's a little bit of a pattern of hostility against Bernie Sanders and kind of a lasting love for Hillary Clinton. He also, this doesn't show that he retweeted it, but he retweeted this tweet. From Dave Weigel of the Washington Post, the main Bernie program kicks off with the Beatles Revolution, which is about being skeptical of people who call for a revolution. Yes, I did just demonetize myself, so keep it coming in the GoFundMe. I did demonetize myself because I need to curse for this one, so keep it coming in GoFundMe or Super Chat. So, yeah, I guess Dave Weigel kind of talking about being skeptical of people like Bernie who call for a revolution, and Mr. Mike McCollum retweeted that. So we have several tweets going after Bernie, several tweets going after or mad that articles were saying the Democratic Party belongs to Bernie. Then you have Mike, talking up and supporting that working class hero, Pete Buttigieg. Such a working class hero who tweeted out, "We in the Democratic Party are making this harder than it has to be. Our message isn't complicated. We exist to protect ordinary people. Y'all listen to Mayor Pete," Elizabeth Warren's new Michigan state director said. I guess the people that Mayor Pete is talking about protecting, I'm sure he was talking about those people when he was having sandwiches on Wall Street this summer. You remember that story? Mayor Pete was meeting with Wall Street bankers on Wall Street and had sandwiches with them. Or the gross, I think he did 50 private fundraisers with financial people in not this recent quarter, but the last one. That fighter, Pete Buttigieg, for ordinary working people. Ugh, gotta retweet him. But then, not to be outdone, Mike tweeted the bastion, the guardian of progressive values, Tom Perez, who said, in America, a person's value isn't determined by their language, skills, or skin color. This isn't what makes America great. In fairness, I agree with Tom Perez in this tweet going after President Trump. Not a hard thing to go against President Trump, but this is the same Tom Perez who very quickly, upon becoming DNC chair, reversed the DNC's ban on taking fossil fuel money. This is the same Tom Perez who has not at all curtailed the DNC's taking money from lobbyists, which they said they would stop doing that. So this guy is sharing Tom Perez, Pete Buttigieg. I'd only stopped at his Twitter. I couldn't go past 2017, so God knows what he said about Bernie Sanders during the 2016 campaign. I couldn't get past 2017. For some reason, it just said, "You've reached the bottom, go back to the top." Fix that, Twitter. So, listen, there might be some people who say, "Jordan, stop with the, you're nitpicking here. It's just her campaign manager in the pivotal state of Michigan." But dare I say, and remember, folks, press that like button. We got 620 of you watching, but only 500 of you have pressed that like button. So we need 130 more of you to press the thumbs up button right under this video. Let's get this viewership up to 700. Thank you, Philip Blair, $2 in the super chat. Keep it coming, and we're really pushing this GoFundMe, so I'm not going to hammer you over the head. But if you got a couple bucks, drop it in the GoFundMe and become a member, statuscoup.com/join. now that Joseph's on board, we're going to be making some more member content, probably starting this week, just for members. So, I think that it's very problematic if Elizabeth Warren is talking about she's against corruption. If Elizabeth Warren is talking about we need to, curtail lobbyists, we need to stop the huge influence of lobbyists, of big donors, of all the revolving door, but recently she's talking behind the scenes with Hillary Clinton. Recently, reports that she's going around the country having hot tea with the leaders of the Democratic Party establishment. Now she's hiring Hillary Clinton veterans to run key states for her. This is not just about bad decision making, because why would you want to hire the people from the losing campaign who lost to an orange orangutan to run Michigan? Maybe this guy's good, maybe he's not, but wouldn't you want somebody from a campaign that maybe has learned some different lessons? Putting that aside, to me, what Elizabeth Warren is doing, she's giving off signals. She's giving off signals to those donors that are still with Biden. I'm a team player. I'll play ball with you. I got to do what I got to do to win the primary. I got to talk the talk. I got to say what I got to say. I got to kind of pretend that I'm for Medicare for all this. But I'll be there in the end. There's no revolution coming. Yes, I might do some things around the edges. You might not have as big a tax cut. You might have to pay a little bit more, but you'll be fine. Wink, wink. Or basically telling them, I want to see if that worked. Hold on. Hold on. Yes, it worked. You see, I had to wait because there's a delay. Woo! Hold on. I had to wait because there's a delay. So we're going to be adding a couple sound effects into the broadcast, make it a little bit more polished. We got a little cash register. We're going to be adding some other things.
More is coming.
More is coming, but yeah. I can't hear it when it's played. I don't know. It's a quirk of the system, so I can't hear it. So I wanted to make sure you could hear it. So what Elizabeth Warren is telling the donors is, it's so obvious. It's so obvious. And, what bothers me is, listen, I don't think in her heart she is Hillary Clinton. I don't think she's as bad as Hillary Clinton. I don't think she's as bad as Joe Biden. I don't think she's as bad as Kamala Harris. I think she truly, genuinely, in her mind and heart, believes there needs to be tighter regulation on Wall Street. I think she truly believes that the rich have gotten away with murder and we need to take some of that stuff away. But the problem is she has made a political calculation that is not only unethical, but it's bad strategy. Why are you basically borrowing the strategy that Hillary Clinton used? Hillary Clinton was still satisfying her donors while kind of placating and pretending that she would do some progressive things. The strategy why Donald Trump won is because he went against the Republican Party. He went against the establishment. Of course, he was totally full of shit. We know this. But going against the establishment is a winning strategy because the current president did it. People, both on the left and the right, hate both parties. So why Elizabeth Warren is making a political calculation that if she does what she needs to do to be signal I'm a team player, that she'll get all that money in the general. And her team is probably telling her, we're going to need to take all this special interest money because Trump and the RNC have raised, I think it's close to $200 million at this point. So we need that money. Hillary Clinton outspent Donald Trump 2-1. She lost. Sure, she won the popular vote, but unfortunately, that's not how we vote, or that's not how elections are counted. So you could have all the money in the world. I got news for you. Joe Crowley outspent Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez by a lot. She won. There are more campaigns now where upsets are happening. Money does not equal victory. Sometimes on a local level, yes, but on a grander scale, Elizabeth Warren, if she ran, I'm for Bernie Sanders, so I don't want her to be the nominee. At this point, I don't think she's going to be the nominee, but she's making a strategy that is going to come back to bite her in the behind if she were the nominee. And she's going to have a hard time rallying, if she is the nominee, supporters of Bernie Sanders, because this is kind of coming off like Clinton 2.0. Again, in her heart, I don't think she has the same hardcore neoliberal beliefs as Clinton. I don't think she's as big as a warmonger as Hillary Clinton. But what is she signaling right now to the left, to the real left, the progressives, not like the faux-gressives? She's signaling, I'm for sale. I'm willing to hire old Hillary people. And I got news for you folks. Kamala Harris's campaign is littered with old Hillary Clinton campaign people. Communications, senior advisors, you name it. You watch when Kamala Harris drops out, which is probably going to be before Iowa at this point. You watch those old Clinton people be hired on Warren's campaign. I'm just telling you what's going to happen. And why I think this is so dangerous of a strategy is we need to win. I'm not like a blue no matter who kind of person, right? But this is the stakes are a lot different than they were 4 years ago. I stand by what I said 4 years ago. You put a gun to my head, would I take 4 years of Trump versus 8 years of Hillary Clinton? I, as a white dude, I understand that comes with a certain level of privilege, was willing to roll the dice because I thought Trump would usher in the revolution quicker. But I'm not willing for another 4 years of Donald Trump. Put aside everything else. Put aside the progressive purity and all things else. I don't know if this planet can take 4 more years of Donald Trump. Of course the racism, of course the lunacy, of course the criminal behavior, of course the enriching himself while being president, multiple laws being broken. Of course all of that is super valid. But a lot of that stuff could be unwound. Once the planet is destroyed, it's very hard to unwind that. It's almost impossible. So I don't think we have the luxury of a perfect candidate to beat Donald Trump. But at the same time, I don't know if Elizabeth Warren would beat Donald Trump because between the Native American stuff, $200 million Donald Trump and the RNC have in their pocket to carpet bomb the airwaves in Iowa, Michigan, Pennsylvania, New Hampshire, Ohio, Wisconsin, Arizona, which might be close. That's a lot. Lily, sorry, but I am willing. Well, I don't tell my viewers how to vote. I could just tell you I'm not willing to roll the dice on the planet because I think 4 more years of Donald Trump is unspeakable in terms of the planetary destruction. We're not just talking about the extreme weather and the extreme hurricanes. You're talking about the peeling back of regulations, clean water, clean air regulations, the offshore drilling he is allowing at rampant pace, not to mention the expansion of the military, which if you give him another 4 years, it might go to $1 trillion budget. The military, the Pentagon, is the biggest culprit of carbon emissions. The Pentagon puts out the most carbon emissions of any entity in the world. So that's how I feel. I'm not going to tell people how to vote. If it were Warren, I would vote for her personally. And if you don't like me for saying it, too bad. If you don't want to watch me for saying it, too bad. But that doesn't mean I'm gonna cover her critically no matter what. I don't believe in turning off journalism or turning off, taking on corruption in the months of August to November during the general election. That's not how I roll, unlike some institutions that I used to work for that do that. But I'm always going to tell you what I think. I don't think we could afford another 4 years of Donald Trump, and I don't think we could, as Anthony said, I don't think we can give this man 4 more years. I also think, putting aside the planetary stuff, we do have a constitution, but he also has a Supreme Court. Donald Trump jokes a whole lot about serving more than 2 terms. Sometimes when you joke so much, there's some truth in that joke. He has the Supreme Court, folks. If he gets another 4 years, don't be naive that he wouldn't try to change the laws, the Constitution, whatever. So that's how I feel. But getting back to Warren, this is bad strategy. And progressives are smart. And by the way, people are going to know who you're raising money from if you become the nominee. I don't think you're getting this Bernie base. I don't think you're getting the Bernie base if you're taking money from Goldman and Pfizer and Raytheon and ExxonMobil and all the usual suspects of the general. And if you keep staffing up your campaign with old Hillary Clinton people who tweet out, passive aggressive to aggressive things towards Bernie Sanders, good luck to you. Good luck to you. But I'm not done. I think one more time for the road. So, Elizabeth Warren, there's more than just who she is hiring. Somebody said I'm fear-mongering? Joseph?
Somebody did.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well,
Yeah.
if you think the United, if whoever said I'm fear-mongering thinks the United Nations saying basically the planet has 12 years. By the way, that was before Bolsonaro in Brazil was burning down the Amazon, which is 25% of it's basically the world's lungs. So if you think that's fear-mongering, why don't you send me an early invitation into your bunker when the planet ends? If you think that's fear-mongering, whoever said that, sorry, you're an idiot. So, moving on. Thank you, Moby Dog, $5 in the super chat. Thanks for the hard work for Bernie. Correction, I don't work for Bernie, I work for me and status quo, but I am a big Bernie supporter, and I don't hide it. Did I miss any other super chats? Don't want to miss anybody. Great show, man. Black leadership analysis. Thank you. All right. So, but there's more on Warren that has not previously been known, which I'm just finding out about now. So, what's interesting, and don't forget, we got 637 people watching. If you could be so kind, we'd love to get to $77,000 this week in our GoFundMe. It will help get us out on the road. We're currently in the process of scheduling 2 field trips, so your support will help us get out there and stay out there a little bit longer. Again, the $76,130, we don't have $76,000 in the bank. I very much wish we did. We've spent a lot of the GoFundMe already because you've sent us out to all these places all over this country with GoFundMe and membership. So we're trying to hit that $85,000 as soon as possible and then really shift and focus a lot on membership. So Elizabeth Warren has made a huge part of her campaign the fact that she is not doing lavish fundraisers. She's not doing big fundraisers with, Democratic Party plutocrats. It's not doing big fundraisers with bankers, healthcare, fossil fuel, you name it. Of course, previously it came out that, she's not doing those fundraisers because she did it in 2018. She did them during her Senate re-election campaign and just transferred the money over. So this article, which was very interesting, Senator Elizabeth Warren keeps denouncing the 1%, but she stopped by Carla's in Los Altos Hills, the 3rd most expensive zip code in the country, with a median household of over $248,000 for a fundraiser. The fundraiser was curiously unreported because the optics may have been less than ideal. This fundraiser was held, I believe, in October of 2018, so right before her Senate re-election campaign. Warren had claimed that she would be shunning big donors because candidates spend way too much time with wealthy donors. Her campaign has been billed as the best president money can't buy. Like everything else Warren said, including claims of Indian ancestry, it was best taken with Molly. So this guy obviously has a take. So the fundraiser he's talking about here was with Carla Jurvetson. She was married to a big venture capitalist. They got divorced, and I'm assuming she got a whole lot of money out of that divorce because she's been kind of a Democratic rainmaker in the 2018 election cycle and probably now the 2020 campaign. So during the 2018 election cycle, both Warren and Gillibrand raised the majority of their funds from women for the first time in either senator's career, according to the Center for Responsive Politics. Harris had nearly twice as many female donors as male donors, although 54.4% of the roughly 14.7 million she raised. I don't care about Harris. Let's move on. So great, you're getting all your big money from women instead of men. Wonderful. Donors like Jurvetson, again, was married to a big venture capitalist. They're divorced now. She's a psychiatrist, but she has a whole lot of money, probably from that divorce settlement. Donors like Jurvetson will be in high demand over the next 2 years. She hosted Warren for a fundraiser at her Los Altos Hills house last month. Again, this article is from November of 2018. So right before her presidential run, October 2018, Elizabeth Warren went to the third wealthiest zip code in America to have a fundraiser with a mega plutocrat who's pouring in, from what I've seen, lots and lots of money to establishment candidates. That's problematic because it kind of goes with what we already know, that she basically kind of just did some creative accounting here. She did all the lavish fundraisers right before her presidential run so that she had some money to start, transferred it over into her presidential campaign coffers, had a lot of money to start the campaign, more than Bernie, more than others to begin, and hired up a ton of people in Iowa. She hired more people in Iowa than any other campaign in the beginning, which has helped her create a strong ground game, among other things, in Iowa. So is it okay that she's not taking this big money in the primary because she took it a month before she announced? I mean, really, we're just talking about kind of calendar tricks. We're talking about her taking a ton of money from big plutocrats, going to private fundraisers that didn't get much media coverage, and then using that money for her campaign. By the way, this Carla Jurvetson, who she did a fundraiser with, also was able to get Warren the DNC voter database file, which was $100,000. So, candidates need access to the DNC voter files. Bernie Sanders, so far, has not paid for that access. So what happened, here's that article again, Carla Jurvetson, who Warren went to her house, probably kissed her ring a little bit, and got money from her and the other donors in attendance, third richest zip code in America. That new mega donor then cut $100,000 in checks to get Warren access to the DNC voter file. So what she did, instead of donating to Warren, Carla wrote 2 checks to the DNC. The payment was split up into 2 checks, one for $35,500 and the other for $64,500 to bypass FEC donation limits. One payment was labeled for the legal fund and the other for general operations. But both were allegedly about kicking $100,000 in so that Warren's campaign could get access to the voter file and take her message of not taking money from big donors to the people. Right before heading to a San Francisco 10,000 a seat cocktail party fundraiser with a $50,000 photo opportunity with Warren, well, this guy's putting in a little bit more literature on her Native American stuff. So this fundraiser she did at Carla's home, 10,000 a seat cocktail party fundraiser with $50,000 photo opportunity with Warren. Does that sound like somebody fighting corruption to you? $50,000 for a photo with Elizabeth Warren? $10,000 a seat? Unbelievable. The cognitive dissonance. And this is getting no attention. The media is certainly not going to cover it because they're going with this nonsense that Elizabeth Warren, she's anti-corrupt and she's against corruption. Yeah, she was for it last year. Okay? And before, some of my establishment friends come at me, well, Jordan, you need money to fight campaigns, this and that. If you're truly progressive, Bernie Sanders just raised more money in 3 months than any other campaign has raised in this campaign. Before he was rushed to the hospital, $25.3 million. Can you imagine if Bernie Sanders was the nominee, how much money would pour in from him, from average working people in a 3-month span? Remember, general election, after the DNC, it's basically 3 months till the general election. You don't think Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren, if she did it the right way, could compete with small dollar donors? You think it's necessary to do $10,000 a seat cocktail parties in I don't know where that is, in the hills of California? You think this donor is just dropping $100,000 to the DNC out of the kindness of her heart to get Elizabeth Warren's campaign access to the DNC database and voter file? I don't know this woman. She might be nice. She's a psychiatrist. She probably got money from her divorce settlement from her vulture capitalist husband, who reportedly had a lot of affairs and whatever. Maybe she likes Warren's message of, anti-corruption and this and that, but most people don't give $100,000 to anything without a return, without an expectation of a return on investment. So I think Elizabeth Warren needs to be asked about these lavish fundraisers she did 1 month before her Senate re-election campaign, 2 months before she announced her run for the presidency. Because being an actual progressive, being against the suffocating and toxic influence of money in politics, it's not a calendar-based thing. It's not, I'm against it in this time window, but outside of that time window, before I announced, and if I win the nomination and in the general, sign it over? Or, shall I say, God, I love that. I just love it.
Yes.
More sound effects coming to a theater near you.
Many more.
And thank you to Chris, $27 in the GoFundMe. We're now at $76,157. Elizabeth Warren could essentially be doing the equivalent of a status quo GoFundMe right now. She could, if she was running on a firebrand, take down Wall Street message, what she was saying to get elected in 2012, when I really loved Elizabeth Warren, and I know a lot of you loved her back then, she would be a force. She would be a real threat to Bernie Sanders. She's not running on that. As I told you before, she's hiring old Hillary Clinton people to run her Michigan state. She'll probably hire other Clinton people to run other states too. This is, it's an overwhelming amount of evidence right now that Elizabeth Warren is not a capital P progressive. She's just not. So you also have this little nugget that Jen found here in a Third Way. Here is the president of Third Way, which is the Wall Street funded front group that hates Bernie Sanders, thinks he's an existential threat. Here's what they think of Elizabeth Warren. In his speech, Cowan, the president of Third Way, called on the Democratic Party to reform, not reject capitalism, a theme that was echoed throughout the conference. But at face value, that's a similar argument to that of Elizabeth Warren, who emphasizes her support for heavily regulated capitalism as a way to distinguish herself from the socialist mantra of Bernie Sanders. In fact, many Third Way leaders would accept Warren as a Democratic nominee in a way they wouldn't accept Sanders. Quote, "She's a team player for the Democrats. She's not committed to a single-payer health insurance. That's good enough for us," Third Way said. Or, so what that means, when I always say, kind of wink, wink, and a nod, candidates all the time are giving signals. Candidates all the time are giving signals to the establishment, to the bankers, to the third ways of the world. I'm a team player. I'll do business. I'm open for business. I got to say what I got to say now, but I'm reasonable. That's what third way is talking about there. And if they don't think she's for single-payer health care, why should we believe her when she says it? She's all over the place on Medicare for All, as I've been reporting the last few days. And finally, this I've never seen before, but you know how Hillary Clinton had a public and private position? She said that in a speech. Well, that's my private position. This is my public one, you know? Well, this is kind of close to that. This is the New York Times story titled, As Warren and Sanders Jockey for Support, One Takes a Road More Traveled. Well, the original Wolf of Wall Street, here's what he said about Warren. I think Senator Warren's views are more pragmatic. I think she's very different in a conversation than when she's on the stump, said Robert Wolf, the former UBS executive who hosted Miss Warren and other Senate Democrats for a fundraiser on Martha's Vineyard this summer. Again, this was in 2017, so she was doing lavish fundraisers then too. I think Senator Warren's views are more pragmatic. I think she's very different in conversation, i.e. at private fundraisers, than when she's on the stump. Folks, tell me if you think I'm being too hard. I'm open to suggestions. I don't want somebody who's pragmatic and a little softer sounding in private conversations with rich people than at speeches and town halls. That worries me. That worries me to death. So there you have it. Jen is going to dig into more things. Jen found those things. We're going to try to find old speeches she's given. You know, I've already given you my opinion. A lot of you don't like it. I don't think she's Hillary Clinton. I'm not going to just tell you what you want to hear. I don't think she's as bad as Clinton. I don't think she's as bad as Biden. But I think what she's doing now is going to come back to bite her in the butt, because she is not ingratiating herself to capital P progressives. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, out of the 659 people watching, all 659 have liked us.
Wow.
That is pretty amazing.
That is pretty amazing. 660 likes, only 9 dislikes, which are the trolls. We invite the trolls. So, that's it for today. Like I said, I right now am working on booking a trip to South Dakota, Nebraska, and Montana. Talk to Native Americans, environmental activists, landowners having their property stolen right now from TransCanada, who rebranded themselves as another name, but it's TransCanada, the Keystone XL pipeline. We're looking to do that over the next 2 weeks. Marcus will be going to cover something very, very exciting this weekend. I think it's going to be super entertaining for you to watch. I don't want to tell you what it is. It'll be a surprise, but it's bonkers, and I don't think any other media is going to cover it. But it will be batshit crazy. That I can promise you. So Marcus will be on the road. We'll be on the road. We have our equipment coming this week, the LiveView 300, which you helped us buy. So things are on the upswing. And all I ask to the 630 of you watching, because I know there's some of you stragglers in there that have not signed up on the bottom line. Look at me when I tell you. Taking the glasses off for this. The corporate media industrial complex will be covering the Trump impeachment and the Trump impeachment only for the next 6 months to a year. If you're lucky, it will end in 6 months. There will be nothing else. Frankly, our friends, if you want to call them that, in some independent media circles, will be doing the same thing. There will not be field coverage on pretty much anything else other than that and the campaign. If you want aggressive in-the-field journalism, if you want us on the ground to cover water contamination, police brutality, state and local level corruption, economic terrorism by the likes of Amazon, local and state level corruption, pipeline fights, you name it, I'm starting to feel better with my back. Hopefully, as we grow, we'll be able to hire another reporter, because it can't just be me. If you want us out there, sign up. Become a member, statuscoup.com/join. This is the only way we could grow ethically and independently. I'm not taking a dime from the people giving Elizabeth Warren money. No Democratic Party plutocrats, no Republican Party plutocrats, no bankers, no fossil fuel people, no big pharma, no big real estate, no big Silicon Valley. It has to be through you and progressive-minded people. That's how we're going to grow. It's amazing. Between 718 on our website through membership, another 300-something on Patreon, we are growing. But we got to get this thermometer to the top by December 31st. My younger brother is getting married that day. So I hope to be celebrating that, as well as 1,000 members. So if you have not signed up, obviously if you don't have the money, you don't have the money. If you don't have an extra $5 or $10 or $179 annually, we get it. We don't want to make your situation worse. You know, if you can't, you can't. But if you can, join us. It's going to real journalism. We've shown you. We don't just talk about it. We've shown you over the last year. For those of you that do not know, we've been there, done that, and we got a lot more to do. So thank you for watching. I'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully there's not more breaking news, but if there is, I'll go live twice, 3 times, 4 times, whatever. And more good stuff coming from Joseph. So thank you for watching. Remember, most people are not lacking compassion in this country. Most people have no idea what is going on. Peace out.